News Day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The oral arguments on the anti-terrorism law continues today. Aside from the petitioners, we expect Solicitor General Jose Calida to face the High Court this afternoon. To give us the latest, we have Dale De Vera reporting live from Manila. Dale, good afternoon.
Charles, various groups have once again rallied in front of the Supreme Court as the oral arguments on the anti-terrorism law continues this afternoon. The Makabayan group continued to protest the law and tagging it as dangerous. One incident they cited as an example is when Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr. falsely accused a reporter of peddling fake news and suggested that she could be sued for aiding terrorists. This took place around the same time the oral argument started last week. The National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, meanwhile, said the law is dangerous as it threatens to suppress free expression. At today's oral arguments, lawyers will again face the magistrates to answer their questions. Justice Marvic Leonen will continue with his interpellation. Recall that his primary focus last week is to find an actual or clear case that supports the anti-ATL petitions. A petition filed by two ITAs before the SU was then discussed. The two ITAs who were jailed under the anti-terror law appeared before the court to question the measure. They say they were tortured and the evidence against them fabricated, something that the military denied. But after covering this story, Inquirer reporter Tech Torres Tupas was dragged into the controversy. As Parlade said, he will sue the reporter for, quote, supporting terrorists. Various groups hit Parlade for this, and the petitioners did not let him off the hook. Charles, at 2 this afternoon, the oral arguments will resume and we will know if the court will again discuss this issue. We also expect Solicitor General Jose Calida to face the High Court today. Charles?
Thanks for that, Dale. Dale De Vera reporting live from Manila. The Trade and Agriculture Departments inspected markets today to check whether retailers were complying with the price cap in Metro Manila. Shaila Francisco is in San Juan to give us more details. Shaila, how did this inspection go?
Charles, the DA and the DTI will be implementing suggested retail price on wholesalers, traders, and dealers starting today. This is to assist vendors to comply with the price cap. However, some retailers chose not to reopen their stalls, saying they still can't get cheaper meat. The DA set the SRP for pork products at 235 pesos so that retailers can have enough margins to continue their businesses. The department insists sellers can comply with the price cap for pork and chicken. Based on their inspection, products sold in supermarkets and wet markets are well within the price cap. The Agriculture Department added the market disruption that happened in the first 2 days of the pork holiday is due to a logistics issue. They said this may normalize in the next few days once more supply come in from provinces. For its part, the DTI is also finalizing setting SRPs on imported pork and chicken. The department added that proper labeling in markets and different price caps should be implemented as imports are expected to be cheaper. Meanwhile, the QC government tells vendors that they won't need to pay rent if they decide to close shop for now to help those who are struggling to get cheaper supply. Charles, on the other hand, hog producers are urging the DA to go or to hold a pork and chicken summit for the DA to better understand the situation on the ground. According to the DA, they are ready to hold one for stakeholders to air out their concerns. Charles?
Thank you. Shaila Francisco reporting live from San Juan. The Commission on Population and Development, or POPCOM, says up to 60% of teenage mothers come from poor households. This after the Commission reported that pregnancies of minors aged 14 years and below jumped by 7% in 2019 compared to the year before. On 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, POPCOM Executive Director Juan Antonio Perez said majority of teenage moms come from rural areas. Perez added that the RH law seemed to have limited further the access of young parents to free family planning services instead of raising reproductive health awareness. He also pointed out that the law still requires the permission of parents to grant family planning services to minors. Citing studies, Perez also noted that internet exposure has a strong influence on the level of sexual activity among the youth.
Pasama ang influence ng social media, ang influence ng pornografiya, internet, kung masyadong maagang pinapasukan ito ng kabataan, ay nagdudulot ng maagang engagement in premarital sex, maagang nagde-debut sa sexual behavior.
The Health Department has identified several points for improvement after today's nationwide vaccine transport simulation exercise. To give us the latest updates from the ground, we have Greg Gregorio reporting live from Muntinlupa. Greg, good afternoon. Could you tell us how it went?
Charles, good afternoon. According to the National Task Force Against COVID-19, they have allotted 120 minutes for the entire process of the simulation, from the unloading of the cargo from the plane, going through the customs clearance, and transferring the cargo to the refrigerated vans before it could be transported to the RATM earlier this morning. According to Secretary Galvez, though 120 minutes has been allotted, it only took around 50 minutes to finish the simulation from NAIA to RITM. Charles?
Greg, could you take us through that entire process that will happen once vaccines arrive in NAIA?
Charles, once a vaccine or once the vaccines that from COVAX, for example, has been delivered to the country, it will go through inspection of the Bureau of Customs. Although it is not, it is unlike the usual customs clearance, because according to Galvez, the initial allotted time of 30 minutes for the unloading and custom clearance has been reduced to just around 18 minutes. After that, the vaccines will be placed in a refrigerated van and will be transported to the central vaccine hub in the National Capital Region, which is here, the RATM in Muntinlupa. Charles?
Right, Greg, based on today's exercise, is the government actually ready for the arrival of vaccines, or how far off are they with respect to the actual implementation?
Charles, as we speak, Secretary Galvez, Secretary Duque, and Secretary Dizon and other government officials are still in talks about the assessment of the conducted simulation this morning. But according to Galvez, if the allotted time or the target time is what we are going to speak about, they would like to lessen the time to as much as possible, 30 minutes or so, because according to Galvez, if the shorter time would be better to ensure the potency of the vaccines that will be used for the government's mass inoculation against COVID-19. Charles?
All right, Greg, could you kindly refresh our memory as regards when we're expecting the first batch of vaccines to arrive, and will the government be holding any more simulations before that happens?
Yes, Charles, according to our government officials, we are expecting 170,000 doses of vaccines from Pfizer and BioNTech. That is through the WHO-initiated COVAX facility. But up to this date, Secretary Galvez is saying there is still no exact date as to when will this doses of vaccine will arrive in the Philippines. According to Galvez, 2 to 3 days prior to the arrival of that bunch or that number of vaccines, another simulation activity will be conducted by our officials as to perfect the procedures for us to ensure the potency of vaccines. Charles?
Right, Greg, I understand that today's simulation was specific for Pfizer vaccines, but then will they apply the same process for the other arriving vaccines, such as AstraZeneca and the others?
Charles, we asked that the same question earlier to Secretary Duque and Secretary Galvez. According to Secretary Galvez, yes, this simulation is for the arrival of vaccines from Pfizer. If we remember, we're also expecting delivery of vaccines from AstraZeneca through COVAX, which is estimated to be later February or early March. According to them, since AstraZeneca requires a different storage requirement, which is only 2 to 8 degrees. They will be conducting a separate simulation for that since the vaccine requires a different storage requirement. Charles?
Yeah, some vaccine brands are more challenging than others, but then let's talk about today's press briefing. We have Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere discussing the vaccine prioritization list approved by the IATF. Could you give us a quick summary of this?
Charles, according to the Department of Health, the prioritized individuals who will first receive the COVID-19 vaccines that will come into the Philippines are healthcare workers. After that are senior citizens and other vulnerable population before the remaining part of the population as to achieve the 70% herd immunity against COVID-19. Charles?
Thanks for that, Greg. That was Greg Gregorio reporting live from Muntinlupa. Fast break now to some sports news. There's a new PVL team in town, bannered by some very familiar faces. Peak Form, a sports conditioning and recovery center, is one of the 10 teams joining the PVL Open Conference bubble in Laguna this May. Mela Tunay will be the team captain of the Peak Form Lady Spikers, and she will be joined by fellow UST standouts Chloe Cortez and Dimdim Pacres, as well as Judith Abil, Angelia Araneta, and Jesma Ramos, among others. Peak Form is one of 3 new clubs who have joined the PVL, with the other 2 being PLDT and Signal. Also seeing action are Creamline, Banco Perlas, Petrogas, Chocomucho, Balipure Chefs Classics, Air Force, and Army. The PVL is also opening the doors for about 2 more teams. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join Sean Yao later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.